She is mentally incapable of controlling her own affairs, Your Honor. She is confused, unstable, danger to herself. My father did not blink as he lied to the judge. He even brushed away fake tear, glancing at relatives he personally invited to witness my humiliation. I did not scream. I did not react. I simply checked my watch. 3 minutes. That was all the time he had left before his entire world collapsed. Be honest. Has it ever happened to you? Someone looking straight into your eyes and lying about you, publicly, to destroy you? Were you victim? Write yes in comments if you know that feeling. I want to see how many of us survived this. Walter sat upright, adjusting his tie, as if he had just delivered funeral speech. Courtroom fell silent. Heavy silence. Thick with judgment from aunts and cousins he packed into back rows. They were waiting for breakdown. Waiting for Ruthie, 29-year-old disappointment, confused child, to scream or beg for mercy. I did nothing. Did not blink. Just sat there, breathing stale air of probate court, letting silence stretch until it became unbearable for everyone except me. Señorita Ruthie, said Judge Morris, peering over glasses. Your father has made very serious allegations regarding your capacity and management of inheritance. Do you wish to respond? Walter leaned forward. Predator sensing blood. He needed reaction. He needed hysteria. That was his currency. Emotional chaos. If I screamed, he won. If I cried, he won. So I gave him nothing. I stood slowly, smoothing front of jacket. Did not look at courtroom. Did not look at judge. I looked directly at Walter. My face stayed blank. No anger. No fear. No sadness. In psychology, this is called gray stone method. You become stone. Uninteresting. Unresponsive. Faceless. You starve narcissist of emotional fuel he needs to survive. Walter thought my silence meant I was broken. In truth, I was silent because I was recording everything. Señorita Ruthie? Judge Morris asked again. I am listening, Your Honor, I said calmly. I am simply waiting for my father to finish listing my alleged flaws. I would hate to interrupt his performance. Walter's grin twitched for a split second. He leaned toward his lawyer, Señor Stephen, whispering urgently. Stephen was not smiling. He was sweating, tapping pen against notepad. Nervous tick I had noticed 3 months earlier, when I began tracking their moves. Stephen knew something Walter did not. He knew documents existed. He knew trail was left behind. And he knew exactly which papers they had falsified to force this hearing. Walter, meanwhile, sat confident. Arrogant. Swollen with lies he had fed family for years. Long-suffering patriarch. Hero holding together crumbling dynasty. And I was Leakin Hall. He believed Judge would sign paper granting him legal guardianship over me. And access to $5 million of inheritance. He believed control was minutes away. Cold, sharp clarity settled in my chest. Not adrenaline. It was feeling of trap snapping shut. He thought my silence was surrender. He had no idea it was sound of scope locking onto target. Go ahead, I said, sitting down again. Let's hear rest, Your Honor. Look at her life, Walter sneered, pointing at me like stain on floor. She lives in shoebox apartment in worst part of city. She wears discount clothes. Rides bus because she cannot afford car. She wasted every opportunity one gave her. He listed my failures like grocery items. But my mind drifted back 2 years. Day he showed up at my apartment without warning. He scanned my 28 square meter studio with pure disgust. It's shameful, Ruthie, he said, kicking stack of books. I tell my friends you're finding yourself, but we both know you're just failing. Then he drove off in brand new Porsche Cayenne. Car I later learned he leased using my social security number. He never knew box under shoe rack was not empty. While he spent $5,000 on suits to impress strangers. I was preparing something else who hated him. I kept invisible ledger. Every time he called me worthless, I redirected another $5,000 into offshore investment account. Every time he mocked my boring data entry job, I quietly managed $15 million for private investment funds. I was not broke. I was accumulating. While he believed I was failing, I was buying. He thought I rode bus because I could not afford Toyota. In reality, I used liquidity to purchase distressed mortgage tied to his prized country club membership. When he laughed at jacket from secondhand store, I was finalizing paperwork for acquisition of shell company holding security deposit on his office building. He saw daughter who needed supervision. I saw liability that needed removal. She has no understanding of financial responsibility, Senior Walter shouted, slamming hand on table. I looked at him. Really looked. This was not father worried about child. This was parasite panicking as host cut him off. He wanted guardianship not out of love. He wanted it because he was drowning in debt, and I was only remaining lifeline. He needed legal control of my assets because he had already burned through his own. He was not parent. He was predator. That was why I felt no guilt. If I were only daughter, I might hesitate. I might try to save him one last time. But today I was not his daughter. I was his creditor. And this was not family gathering. This was debt collection. That's all, Senior Walter? Judge Morrison asked. Pen squealed across notepad. No, Walter said. Spark ignited in his eyes. He signaled to Senior Stephen. We have irrefutable evidence of her incapacity. Stephen stood. Chair scraped floor like warning shot. He did not look at me. He approached bench and handed Judge Morrison thick stack of financial documents. Your Honor, Stephen said, voice slightly unsteady. We present evidence of mismanagement of trust fund established by late grandmother, specifically primary operating account. Walter could not wait. He cut in, fingers shaking as he pointed at me. She lost it, Judge. She lost $750,000 and did not even notice. Murmur rippled through courtroom. Aunts clutched pearls. Cousins exchanged horrified glances. To them, $750,000 was fortune. To Walter, it was only barrier between him and bankruptcy. Explain, Judge Morrison said, flipping pages. Her expression unreadable. Look at transfers. Walter shouted, abandoning all restraint. In last 24 months, massive sums moved out. 50,000 here, 80,000 there. All to shell companies. Untraceable. And she did nothing. No police reports. No fraud alerts. Nothing. He turned to audience, feeding on their shock. My daughter was so detached from reality, she allowed inheritance to vanish. If we do not intervene now, in 6 months she will be on street. I watched performance. It was brilliant, in twisted way. He framed his theft as my incompetence. He relied on one assumption. No sane person would allow that much money to disappear without screaming. So I must be insane. So he must take control. We are filing emergency petition, Stephen added, wiping sweat from upper lip. We request immediate freeze of all assets and appointment of Walter as temporary guardian to stop the leak. Walter finally looked at me. Not with concern, but with hunger. It was look of triumph. He believed I was cornered. He believed missing money was irrefutable proof of my incapacity. He did not realize it was decoy. He was right about one thing. Money was gone. He was wrong about reason. He assumed I was too foolish to check balance. Assumed I was still quiet girl he bullied at dinner table. Senorita Ruthie, Judge Morrison said, voice firm. These documents show significant depletion of funds. Do you have explanation for where this money went? Courtroom sank into dead silence. Walter leaned back, arms crossed. Prepared for stammering. Prepared for tears. Prepared to win. I stood. I did not look at notes. Did not look at my lawyer. I reached for single blue folder, placed on table at start of hearing. I have no explanation, Your Honor, I said calmly. I have a map. I walked to podium and placed folder before Judge Morrison. No rush. Every step deliberate. Calm of someone who knows ending of film because she wrote script herself. My father is correct in one respect, I said, turning slightly toward audience. Money was taken. $750,000 left this trust. I tracked every cent. Walter burst into sharp laughter. She admits it. She watched it happen and did nothing. She's catatonic. I was not catatonic, I said. My voice sliced through his noise. Flat. Precise. Judge Morrison opened folder. Her eyes widened on first page. It was not spreadsheet. It was map. Digital trace visualization. Senorita Ruthie, Judge Morrison said, looking up. What am I seeing? You are seeing IP address logs for every unauthorized transfer, I replied. I did not just follow money. I followed device. Every transaction originated from same desktop computer. Location, 442 Oakwood Drive. My father's home address. Specifically, his office. Walter's face drained of color. He tried to rise. Senor Stephen grabbed his arm, forcing him back. This is fabricated, Walter shouted. Hacked evidence. And here, I continued, ignoring him completely, pointing to next page. Transfer confirmations. You will see funds were not sent to random shell companies. They went to accounts held by Apex Consulting, Nevada-registered entities. I turned to Walter. Company you established 3 years ago using your mistress's maiden name. Courtroom erupted. Aunt gasped. Someone swore under breath. Walter looked like he had been punched in gut. Mouth opened. No sound came out. He understood too late. I did not ignore theft. I documented it. But why? Judge Morrison asked, raising hand to silence room. If you knew he was stealing, Senorita Ruthie, why not freeze account? Why allow him to take nearly $1 million? That was honey trap strategy, Your Honor. Because of law, I said. If I had stopped him at $50,000, it would be civil dispute. Family matter. He would get slap on wrist, suspended sentence. Then return to my life in 6 months, trying to steal again. I looked at Walter. I wanted him to understand mechanics of his own destruction. I needed him to cross line. From petty theft to federal racketeering. I deliberately disabled security alerts. I left door unlocked. I waited until stolen total passed $500,000. And transfers crossed state lines. I leaned forward, hands on defense table. That creates interstate wire fraud scheme, I said evenly. Electronic transactions. Jurisdiction sufficient for RICO. Minimum mandatory sentence. 10 years in federal prison. No parole. No probation. Walter collapsed into chair. He looked small. Like man who realized he did not rob bank. He robbed trap. I didn't lose $750,000, Dad, I said. Voice cold. Final. I spent it. It was price of your prison sentence. And honestly, it was bargain. But cornered rat is most dangerous. Walter wiped sweat with shaking hand and reached into briefcase. He pulled out single sheet of paper, yellowed at edges. She's lying, he said, strength creeping back. She authorized every transfer. She just forgot. He passed document to bailiff, who handed it to Judge Morrison. Walter turned to gallery. Confidence surged like fever. This power of attorney, signed and notarized 2 years ago, gives me full control over this trust account. For managing family investments. She signed after grandmother died. She was too depressed to handle finances. Judge Morrison examined paper. Frowned. Signature looked real. It's genuine, Walter said, smiling for first time in minutes. She signed. She just doesn't remember. This proves I'm right, Your Honor. Her memory is impaired. She dissociates. She invents paranoid RICO fantasies. Because she can't accept reality. That she gave me permission. Mood shifted. Cousins whispered. Maybe he's right. Maybe she's confused. Even Senor Stephen straightened, hope returning. If document stood, theft was not theft. It was authorized management. My case would collapse. Honey trap would fail. Senorita Ruthie, Judge Morrison asked. Is this your signature? I recognized paper instantly. Funeral documents. Walter slipped it in. I signed without reading. Mistake that started war. Yes, I said. That's my signature. Walter lunged forward. You see? She admits it. She forgets. She needs guardian. He thought he won. I let him enjoy illusion for a moment. Then I opened my bag and placed second folder on table. That form gives you control over one account, I said calmly. But it doesn't give you place to live. Silence. I quietly purchased building housing your law office. You haven't paid rent for months. Eviction notice was filed this morning. I also bought mortgage on your house. I own your office. I own your home. I own your debt. He stared at me. You came here for guardianship, I continued. You're leaving as my tenant. He broke. Court watched ego collapse in real time. I slid settlement denial and confession across table. Sign. 30 days to vacate. Refuse. Locks change at noon. He signed. Doors opened. Federal marshals entered with U.S. attorney. Walter was arrested on spot. Perjury triggered sealed federal indictment. I filed months earlier. No one spoke for him as they took him away. Outside sky looked clearer. I finalized sale of his house, changed number and left. Peace is not given. It is taken. And sometimes strongest move is letting enemy bury himself.